Thanks very much, Jennifer. Thanks everybody for coming. Welcome to my presentation on Healing Zone Zero, a pattern level perspective on our personal health. And we'll start out with talking about designing from patterns to details. We're looking at patterns of health, and thought this fractal was nice. Of like we're gonna really dive into 8 different major themes, major pattern awarenesses around health, and then kind of go into more nuanced understandings. The way fractals go towards infinity and what makes us happy and healthy is such a crucial question to to all humanity. People through all time have asked this question. I think defining health is a nice place to begin because one of the things in our Western culture of today, I think too many of the allopaths define health as the absence of disease. Andrew Weil talks about going around to all kinds of medical schools around the country and not having the doctors of America tomorrow kind of be able to supply an adequate definition of health. And I looked into permaculture awareness and believe that some of the concepts that we talk about in permaculture, wholeness, balance, resilience, fluidity, connectedness, like these are the health of an ecosystem and just as applicable to the health of our zone zero, our own personal ecology. And as I said, like traditions throughout time have looked at this question of how to live a happy and healthy life. Ayurveda means the science of life, the Tao, like how we follow that way, that path to the good life. Eudaimonia is the Aristotelian concept of like happiness or good welfare, the eightfold path of Buddhism leading us towards enlightenment, the 8 limbs of yoga with union with the divine, 5 points of Shivananda, 5 pillars of good health, again an Andrew Weil concept of kind of looking at these themes that impact our health. And so from a permaculture awareness, I think that the major themes that we're going to explore today are relationship, nature, nutrition, exercise, the pause, purpose, attitude, and awareness. So there'll be a slide on each of these. And just as you see at the top here in pink, the design from patterns to details, there'll be permaculture principles in pink on each page that kind of connect these themes with permaculture. And then we'll end with some opportunities on each slide. And one of the things I want you to remember is that these 8 themes, like these are in some ways common sense. Like many of us have known these things from kindergarten, or at least from high school and college and on. And I'm not trying to enlighten something new. I'm hoping to inspire or create common practice from this common sense. It's exploring these basic themes of our zone zero health and how we can optimize it, and recognizing our maximum point of leverage, like which of these 8 themes maybe you're neglecting in your life right now is one of the lenses I would encourage you to look at today as we go through these slides, and think about how you can make the least change for the greatest good. And in terms of potentially someone has a lot of purpose and very successful in their professional life, but sacrificing their awareness around relationships, or someone very particular around kind of nutritional awareness that kind of allows their attitude to get spun out because they're so concerned with kind of nutritional greatness. So looking at those themes as well, we arrive at relationship, one of the fundamental kind of ideas behind permaculture. Everything is connected. And so when we find illness in our zone zero, I think as we let go of the ego and find the we can discover wellness in this community. And I ask you, who is your community? Like who's got your back in terms of like connection and people you can rely on, and there's friends, there's virtual communities that we are all part of, there's partners, there's our work colleagues, our neighbors, our family, and like who are you connected to, who are you in touch with? This aspect of connection, I want to draw out two awarenesses here. One is touch and one is verbal, and I'm going to start with touch because I think it's missing in our culture even more than the verbal communication, but I think there's lessons to be looked at, pattern level awarenesses on both of these. And so massage is such a wonderful way to allow touch into our body. And one of the things that happens is massage is a great connection with other, and it's a non-sexual way, and so much touch in our culture today is sexualized, and it's only between partners, and there's sort of a taboo around, anybody like platonic hand holding or various things like that, to the point where a boutique opened in Oregon back in last November and has had thousands of clients every month that are getting cuddled. It's a cuddle boutique, and I love the concept because it's showing the lack of touch that's rampant in America today. And I think other ways is to think about non-human living organisms. So like whether you're a tree hugger or have a pet, like these kinds of concepts of like you can also fulfill some of our touch needs with other living things. In terms of the verbal world, there's two systems I very much like: nonviolent communication and reevaluation counseling. And I think the two major patterns that both of these really try and express are being present and listening when someone else is sharing with you, sharing their experience. And so showing up and being present is one of the most essential aspects of communication. And then when we're sharing, being willing and able to go to that space of vulnerability, being able to share the tenderness of our experience, of our being. And so these are invitations as you explore relationship. All of this under the ethic of people care, one of the major permaculture ethics. And we hopefully find in all these connections that diversity yields stability. And so some opportunities for you: call a friend, compliment a stranger, give a loved one a hug. The surest way to heal an ecosystem is to connect it to more of itself. William McDonough. Nature, another major theme that I think we need to invite into our life, and a big part of permaculture. It's like earth care, the second major ethic, and then work with nature, one of the permaculture principles. And these are 7 shots that inspire me from my travels around the world, and ways in which to connect with nature, remembering to get out there and play, to sit and observe and breathe and explore, climb, roll. Like being outside is such a wonderful experience. And the other primary lens I have into nature right now is my study of herbalism. So I'm getting a certificate with the East West School out of Santa Cruz, and herbalism. I think it does lots of things for us in terms of creating a connection with the plant world. And I'm creating my own herbal first aid kit, which I think is a wonderful way to minimize kind of the pharmaceuticals that are coming into our systems. Relationship with plants, like the act of gardening is the greatest herbal remedy. One of the things I think I've taken away from my herbal studies is that the forming the relationship with those plants is such a huge part of the herbalism. Natural cleaning supply is another one I'm interested in to minimize the toxicity. As Henry David Thoreau said, we need the tonic of wilderness. So some opportunities include unstructured outdoor playtime. This is such an important concept to me. Richard Louv's in Last Child in the Woods talks about the importance of allowing our kids time outside in nature, without structure, without kind of the structured games that we are imposing more and more. Everything's structured. And I think it's just as important for adults as it is for kids. So find somewhere you've never been, explore, commune with non-human living organisms, get out there and connect with a tree, sit for 10 minutes and just have a sit spot, find that awareness of yourself. Nutrition. This is definitely talked about in all the different cultures, and how to find optimum health. And here's a picture from a cleanse that I do every year on the Big Sur coast at Esalen Institute. And I thought it was lovely because it incorporates so many colors and whole foods, and then there's some fermented food and some sprouts and stuff fresh from the garden, the chard picked just 100 yards away, and too much of nutrition advice in America, I think, focuses on the what. And I would invite that we look at the what, the how, and the why. And I'm, in fact, going to start with the why, because I think looking at why we eat can inform how and what we eat as well. Nourishing versus cleansing. As I just alluded to, I love doing cleanses. And I think if, someone is feeling excess, they want to release some ama, some toxins, doing cleanses a week a year, a weekend every season, I think this this is wonderful. Whereas like the nourishing, I mean, I don't encourage pregnant women to do cleansing. It's like, it's like I want them to nourish themselves. If someone is trying to build muscle mass, so it's like looking at what our relationship to like why we are eating. Are we eating strictly for fuel? And then like, the awareness that I would invite is kind of like, how do you approach that? Do you notice the energy that different proteins or carbohydrates or different foods give you, and like how you respond to that energy? Fun. I think it's totally appropriate, and I encourage everyone to be eating for enjoyment. Like, this is such a great thing that we get to do. And so, like, not turning it into a chore, but turning it into a special treat, which brings us to how, which, mindful eating for me is so important. And that starts with chewing, like, starts with the enzymatic reaction in our salivary glands of like, actually breaking down so that we can actually get the nutrition out of the food we're eating and actually taste the flavors that we want to be savoring. And slowly, like just really savoring, dropping into the present, and not in the car, not at the computer, not watching TV, but like becoming present with our meal, I think is critical for this. So, and then lastly, what I think the slow food movement has identified on a pattern level awareness, kind of some of the major themes that I think are hugely relevant for what we should be eating. And it's seasonal, it's local, it's organic, and it's whole. Some people say wild, and I like whole and wild both a lot, but whole is critically important to me. And here are a number of diets. I'm a fan of all of these. These all don't have the same dietary regimen, but they all promote seasonal, local, organic, and whole. Macrobiotic, great tradition. Ayurvedic, wonderful awareness around eating with the seasons. Mediterranean, like certainly whole foods, like living by the seashore, eating a wealth of things. Nourishing traditions, looking at indigenous traditions from around the world, and pulling together wonderful themes of eating locally, seasonally. Paleo living. I mean, these traditions all vary, but they all have these primary themes in common. And whole is perhaps for me one of the most important, and especially in this day and age where so much of our food is getting so highly processed, and our sense of nutritionism of like we're living off of supplements rather than off of whole foods, and like inviting not just the whole grains but also the whole fats, like bringing all of this back into our diet, and moving away from the highly industrialized, highly processed foods. And I would say that the easiest way to do that is eliminate the most highly processed sugar and the most highly processed fat, which is high fructose corn syrup and hydrogenated soybean oil. Get rid of those two, and you're back on your way towards eating in a more holistic way for your health. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Hippocrates. And so some opportunities are cook your meals, go to a farmer's market, join a CSA, plant a seed, get in touch with the food. So exercise. Hippocrates also said walking is man's best medicine. I thought this was a nice lens into using small and so slow solutions, not getting caught up in like a 2-hour aerobic exercise and like, these long sets. And in fact, many ancient traditions have a lot of 10-minute routines to just drop us into our body, get the energy moving in a good way. Surya Namaskar out of like the Indian yogi tradition, the 8-piece brocade coming out of China with the Qigong style, and the 5 Tibetans and the 7 primals out of modern day America. And like the thing that I want to bring into awareness are the patterns that all of these things, these simple 10-minute routines that I can't emphasize enough to just invite just that much exercise in each day. And what all of these do is they make sure we're doing some forward bend. They're focusing on the spine, like the heart opener. That's the way I refer to back bends, because I don't want the energy of the back bend to be in the lordosis. I want it to be in lengthening the spine and expanding the heart. So forward bend, back bend, or heart opener, twisting the spine from side to side, and core strengthening. Again, looking at the stability of the spine. Like when we do core exercises, we're strengthening the psoas, the quadratus lumborum, the abs that are helping that bipedalism that we're still evolving into. I mean, like people have hip troubles because like lifting and everything is challenging. So I think that awareness of the spine, you're only as young as your spine is flexible, that's a great piece to just, even 10 minutes a day, get into moving your spine a little bit. Surf, that's another good one for the spine. Roll at the start of the day. I love to get down on my back every morning and roll, and I do it every evening. I just do it for 30 seconds or a minute and love it. Dance, great way to move the spine in all directions, twisting and forward and opening. So unstructured outdoor playtime, as I talked about earlier, like climbing over logs and climbing trees and jumping on things, like going to the playground. It's what a great way to move the spine in all directions and just open the body up. Sit-ups, classic core exercises. Start doing 4 or 5 a day, see how that feels on your abs, and then just start gently increasing. Small and slow solutions. So then we arrive here with the Dalai Lama, and I'm going to just allow us to take a few breaths to remember the critical importance of the pause. And as the Dalai Lama says, I have so much to do today, I better meditate twice as long. I think in this caffeinated, fossil fuel, extractive, materialistic culture of consumption that we live in, remembering to just stop is such a critical thing to drop back into ourselves, into our own awareness of what our needs and wants are, which leads us into purpose and like discovering that purpose of our lives, which I think comes down to two major themes, like that inner drive and then also being of service. Both of these for me are aspects of our own purpose. And this can happen in our professional life, our spiritual fulfillment, our artistic endeavors, our personal life. So with inner drive, like follow your bliss, discovering what you love, and the unknown good benefits that come from this are that like as we follow our bliss, like we want to contribute to the larger good because like we love what we're doing. So it's like, it just kind of rolls, and creativity and our artistic and finding a sense of purpose, like that sense of purpose feels like such a good purpose for our life, and what excites you, creating that drive. And if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. So within service, karma yoga is the service of action. Like it's the yoga of action, and it's so much about finding that thing greater than ourselves, and it's connected both to unknown good benefits and relinquishing power. And this doesn't necessarily need to be for a god. It can be for the community. It can be for the greater good, and it's dropping into this element of service. Get out and do some volunteer work. Like, I want my work to be contributing. It's like finding how you can contribute to the loved ones around you, to your community. External validation. I think this is an important thing. I think we want our work to be seen, and we want to feel valued by the loved ones around us. And so it's like this way of being of service can then be an unknown good benefit coming back and make us feel better about ourselves. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. Confucius. So some opportunities here include getting out and volunteering, practice random acts of kindness, follow your bliss, and a death meditation is a great way to arrive in the present, in awareness of what I truly want. Oh my God, I'm flying! I love that. So a lot depends on perspective, and the problem is the opportunity. Perhaps one of my favorite permaculture principles, and Carol Dweck in her book on learning and growth, comparing and contrasting growth mindset with fixed mindset, articulates a lot of the things that I think the problem is the opportunity points to. It's a dynamic sense of learning, of embracing challenges, of accepting criticism and working with it, of applying effort, of landing at acceptance of what is. But these major themes of good attitude to cultivate are just as true in learning as they are in relationships, as they are in stress management. As Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Clearly, embracing challenges has great attitude towards success and failure, doesn't see criticism as a failure. He's just ready to apply effort and grow. Within relationships, Henry Ford says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Again, embracing challenges and applying effort. This is like the growth mindset that like things are dynamic and our attitude is going to impact it. Stress management, Bruce Lee says, to hell with circumstances, I create opportunities. This is like the problem is the opportunity. I think Bruce Lee was pretty good about managing his stress when challenges flew at him. He definitely embraced it and applied some effort in return. The yield of the system is theoretically unlimited. Getting into that attitude, that awareness of abundance, of yes, that mindset is such a wonderful opportunity. Laugh, smile, play, reflect on what you are grateful for each day. Loving kindness meditation is a great way to cultivate that attitude of gratitude and follow your bliss. As we arrive at awareness, I want to draw the distinction here between an awareness of an inner world and an awareness of an outer world. And so in the inner world, it's that proprioceptive awareness of ourself, an acceptance of ourself, and an acceptance of the world as it is, and a compassion for that world of ourselves, and a compassion for the world around us, like finding the compassion that we feel for our community, for our Sangha, and applying that just as equally to ourselves. And then finally arriving in the presence, observing and interacting with now the way things are. As Marcel Proust says, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. I loved sitting above that waterfall there in Maui, and then Winnie the Pooh came and joined me, and he said, sometimes if you stand on the bottom rail of a bridge and lean over to watch the river slipping slowly away beneath you, you will suddenly know everything there is to know. So some opportunities here with awareness is to arrive, be here now. And a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat is a great thing that can give us some time where we are present with our thoughts, with our reflection. So a huge fan of both of those. And this leads to the conclusion. Hey, getting out in nature. This is I was trying to sum up the pattern level awareness of all the 8 different things, and I came to the aspect of advice from parents to their kids through all of time, which is go outside and play with your friends. I mean, this incorporates nature, it incorporates community, and incorporates exercise. Like this is like, our attitude lifts, and like, potentially like, and as adults we can recognize, remember to pause and smell the roses, like to shine that light of awareness, that attitude around what is actually happening, so that when we go outside and play with our friends, we are embracing it and loving it. Thank you very much.